All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. And it's a great day here in the city of Atlantic City. Can we say great day? Great day. Yes, great day. And according to the Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver, we live, we lit, we outside. All right, with that being said, I'm Mayor Marty Small Sr. I'm mayor of the great city of Atlantic City. Not only is it a great day here in the city of Atlantic City, but it is a historic day. First, before I give my brief remarks, I would like to pay kudos to state representatives that are here, the Director of Local Governmental Services, Jacqueline Suarez. And along with Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver. And you will hear from the governor next. You have Speaker of the Assembly, Craig Coughlin, House Speaker. Senator Vince Palestina. And my Chief of Staff, also Atlantic County Commissioner, I was going to say Freeholder, Commissioner Ernest Coursey. As I stated, today is a historic day where the great city of Atlantic City will receive $16.8 million in extra funding for projects that was identified by the small administration in concert with the state of New Jersey. This further signifies the state commitment to the great city of Atlantic City, and let's give all parties a round of applause. And before I proceed, I see Assemblyman Don Guardian and Carol Swift of the Assembly. These projects represent relief for the taxpayers of Atlantic City. Some of these projects have been talked about for a long time. It represents our commitment to our public safety and first responders, public safety, police and fire, and our first responders, police, fire, and our fine men and women in blue of our Public Works Department. Major investments will be made to Public Works, 2 large vacuum trucks at $1 million, 2 street sweepers, 2 skid loaders, 4 mini vacs, and a small trash truck totaling $3.958 million. Also, investments in boardwalk expansion. We also have an ESIP program, which has been long championed by our business administrator, Anthony Swan. 2 brand new fire trucks at $1.3 million. HVAC, much needed HVAC upgrades to City Hall at $3.5 million. And the completion of the Main Avenue Promenade at $1.2 million. And helping an investment at 2501 Pacific Avenue at $1 million. But the major announcement, this is something that I've championed since I was a council person. In 2013, we had a trip, a group of community stakeholders, go to East Orange because their citywide surveillance system had a 76% reduction in crime. That's the home of the LG. And we was always trying to find funding to get it done. But I'm happy to say that with this $16 million investment, $5 million will go for the first time ever to a citywide camera program. The city of Atlantic City, the entire city, the neighborhoods, every street will be under surveillance with this $5 million investment. And that shows our commitment to our clean and safe agenda. It shows our partnership with the state of New Jersey, and I couldn't be happier as mayor that all of this is happening under our watch. And we really appreciate it. It shows the front office commitment and everyone involved. And one more time, can we say great day? Great day. And without further ado, I would like to introduce the governor of the state of New Jersey, Phil Murphy.
Thank you, Marty. Good morning, everybody. Great to be here. I don't normally appear without a coat, but you'll forgive me, I hope, given the heat. And really honored to be here. I'm also recovering from the Video Music Awards last night in Newark, so Bad Bunny and Nicki Minaj and others have had a significant impact on my getting out of first gear this morning. Great to be here. Thanks to Mayor Marty Small Sr. for another warm welcome to, by the way, the East Coast's premier resort city, and for your leadership, members of council and members of the team. Marty, you're doing a great job. I'm also honored to be joined by a team equally committed to Atlantic City's success. And Marty mentioned many of these folks, but I want to make sure everybody knows who's here. My partner in government, the one and only rockin', and by the way, importantly for Atlantic City, the Commissioner of the Department of Community Affairs, Lieutenant Governor Sheila Y. Oliver, and Jacqueline and Terry and the other members of the DCA team, welcome. Another great partner and a great leader in the state, the Speaker of the General Assembly, Craig Coughlin, is in the House. He's joined by a couple of his colleagues in the Assembly, and again, they were mentioned earlier, but members of the terrific LD2 team, Assemblyman and former Mayor Don Guardian and Assemblywoman Claire Swift. Great to have you all with us. We have the senior member of the 2nd Legislative District with us. We'll hear from him in a few minutes. Senator Vince Palestina. Vince, great to have you. Casino Reinvestment Development Authority Executive Director Sean Patwell. Sean, I hope you have some sunscreen on, Sean. Right in front of you, you're keeping an eye, and you've got his back covered, Atlantic County Commissioner and dear friend Ernie Corsi. Ernie, great to have you. Sheriff Eric Scheffler was here. Eric, are you still here? I can't see. There, you're right behind Sean. I apologize. Let's hear it for the sheriff. Other members of law enforcement, fire, first responders, the public works team led by Paul Jerkins and Crystal and the rest of their team. Let's give our hosts here a big shout out for hosting us so graciously. As I mentioned, law enforcement, fire, first responders, and we'll be hearing from some of those folks in a few minutes. So when we came into office, Sheila and I promised that our administration would work in close partnership with Atlantic City to ensure its long-term financial and economic stability and success. As I said, Atlantic City would not be able to rise if the state kept its foot on the city's neck. And for almost 5 years now, we have put that principle into action. Alongside, as I mentioned, my great partner in government and the DCA Commissioner, Sheila Oliver, we asked Jim Johnson, feels like a long time ago, Sheila, to serve as our special counsel for Atlantic City, and his efforts put in place a strategic framework for restoring fiscal stability and trust in local government, and for creating a pathway to long-term economic growth and renewal. This pathway is not one that leads only, although it does certainly, but not only to the casinos at the water's edge. It is one that envisions a city with a diverse and broad-based economy, from small businesses to the arts, and from academia to healthcare, and a lot more, all of which will benefit every one of the city's residents, from its youngest to those who fought and stayed through some very challenging times. Importantly, moving toward a more collaborative approach does not mean we are lessening our commitment to this city and its residents. Our administration continues to stand side by side with everyone who calls this place home. In that spirit, I have been honored to come here time and again to cut the ribbon on new projects and to announce other ones, to visit new businesses and sign measures focused on making Atlantic City, the Atlantic City of tomorrow, a city of opportunity within a state of opportunity. And today, we are back to highlight the important investments being made in Atlantic City's future through the new state budget, a total of more than $60 million. If it is said that a budget lays out in clear context what one's values and focus are, then this budget clearly shows that we are not only focused on continuing to support Atlantic City, but we value it as well. To begin with, the budget includes more than, this is the fiscal year 2023 budget that I signed in late June, by the way, because I'm going to go back to last year's budget in a minute, which Marty alluded to. So the current year's fiscal budget includes more than $43 million in direct municipal aid to Atlantic City. Funds, yeah. Thank you, Steve. Funds that are critical. Steve Persky's here. I got to give Steve a shout out. Funds that are critical to Mayor Small, his team, and the City Council for maintaining key services and day-to-day operations. If that weren't enough, additionally, through the budget, again, this is the current year budget, we invested $2 million into the Anti-Violence Out-of-School Youth Summer Program so Atlantic City's kids could have safe recreational and educational opportunities. Through the Department of Transportation, we are stepping in with a $9 million state match to $20 million in secured federal funds to ensure that drainage improvements along Route 40, one of the key access points into Atlantic City, get underway. And in partnership with the Office of Emergency Management, that sits within the New Jersey State Police, the city put together a successful application to FEMA for a more than $5 million flood mitigation assistance grant to improve the Baltic Avenue Drainage Canal. That canal was built more than a century ago to alleviate flash flooding. And with these improvements, it will continue to ensure the safety of residents and property. But by far, the most transformational investment we are making is the one that Marty alluded to in his remarks. It is the more than $16.5 million in supplemental state transitional aid from the now expired fiscal year 2022 budget. And that will support a number of initiatives that Marty and his team have identified and highlighted, and he mentioned some of them. In this amount, I'll give you my own list here, $3 million for energy efficiency improvements across the city's buildings. Improvements that will not only save the city and its taxpayers money moving forward, but which will reduce its carbon footprint, which will have an even longer range impact. And for a coastal city living in the age of climate change, this is meaningful. And separate from this, additional to it, is $350,000, I wish 50 million, Marty, I apologize. What's a zero among friends or two? $350,000, you mentioned, for the HVAC improvements at the police communications building. There's $1.3 million so the Atlantic City Fire Department could put 2 fire trucks in service to the community. Right here, as Paul knows, the Public Works Department will benefit from nearly $2 million for the equipment it needs. New vacuum and trash trucks, a new street sweeper, and new loaders for use right here at the DPW headquarters to keep not only the streets of Atlantic City clean, but also the iconic boardwalk, which once again has been named, by the way, the best boardwalk in America. And speaking of the boardwalk, yeah, let's hear it for that. And speaking of the boardwalk, this transitional aid will not only allow the city to undertake a $2 million program to replace worn-out boards and substructure to keep it safe and welcoming to visitors from across the state and around the world, but it will also close 2 major funding gaps for expanding the boardwalk, improving its accessibility, and enhancing its ability to act as a catalyst for economic growth. The first of these projects is along the Main Street Promenade in Gardner's Basin. The other is just a few blocks away at Caspian Point. Finally, this supplemental transitional aid, again, this is the stuff we were able to pull out from last year and invest in Atlantic City. It will close the $1 million funding gap for the city to move forward on the acquisition and redevelopment of 2501 Pacific Avenue, a key property that will further revitalize not just the boardwalk, but the neighborhood around Jim Whalen Boardwalk Hall. And I know Jim, as a former senator and former mayor, would be proud to see all that is going to happen here in Atlantic City through our partnership. 6 weeks ago, as you all know, Atlantic City hosted the National Convention of the NAACP. As a former national board member, that was a particular badge of honor. This was not just a historic gathering, but it also served as an opportunity for us to put on full display the transformation that is happening right here in Atlantic City. As I noted in my opening remarks, every time I come here, there's something new to see and to do. Our job now, and I think our job, all of us together, is to ensure that this progress continues. This city's success is vital to the success of not just South Jersey, but to be sure, of all of New Jersey. I am proud of all that our administration, and I know Sheila joins me and the legislators led by Craig and colleagues here that we're all doing to support Atlantic City's continued rise. And with all that said, again, I thank everyone here, Paul, at DPW, for allowing us to gather at your home, and it is my pleasure to introduce my partner in government, someone who knows this city as well as anybody. Please help me welcome the Commissioner of the Department of Community Affairs, but more importantly, the Lieutenant Governor of the great state of New Jersey, Sheila Y. Oliver.
Good morning, everyone, as we move to the afternoon. But you know that Atlantic City became near and dear to me early in the Murphy-Oliver administration. And as Governor Murphy made reference, we made a commitment not just to the elected leadership in Atlantic City, but to the people who work and live and call Atlantic City their home. I've had the opportunity to meet people who are second and third and fourth generation of families who have lived in this town. And as the governor made reference to, we are eager to continue to work with Mayor Smalls' administration in creating the Atlantic City of the future. But we all know you can't know where you're going until you know where you've been. And this is a city with the most iconic reputation in terms of resort communities in the country and probably around the world. I often tell people in Atlantic City, you do not understand the jewel that you are. Looking at these two beautiful things, I'd like to take a ride in them, but you know, they're shiny and they just look good. And I know, you know, the Public Works staff is going to be happy to have them. I also want to comment that the governor and I get to travel all around the state, as does the speaker. And without question, this is the largest public works yard I have ever been in. Without question. And you know, Speaker, I had once gone to the one in Woodbridge, but I don't think it holds a candle to AC. Okay. So, you know, the governor pointed out for you the investments that his and the legislature's budget has made to Atlantic City in this fiscal year. I thought it was also important for you to know about other kinds of investments we are making. Because as a governmental agency, the Department of Community Affairs, and with the leadership of Jacqueline Suarez, who leads our local government services unit, and she is the one that has primary responsibility for working with the mayor and the city council and the other leaders in Atlantic County, the senator and the assembly people. But we have looked through all the crevices and crooks, you know, the crooks and crevices that we have in terms of resources to figure out how else can we move Atlantic City forward. So I just want to share with you other financial investments that we have made and resource investments that we have made over and beyond our commitments in the budget. The City of Atlantic City was awarded $20 million in Community Development Block Grant disaster recovery funding in order to repair and replace infrastructure and public facilities in the city that were damaged by Superstorm Sandy. 6 projects were selected, and if you travel around the city, you will see those projects underway. More than $2 million in neighborhood revitalization tax credit funding was approved earlier in 2022 for 3 neighborhoods in Atlantic City: Chelsea, Midtown, and Ducktown. The NRTC program is designed to spur the renewal of neighborhoods at risk of experiencing a downturn. And the NRTC applications that were submitted by these 3 neighborhood groups were excellent and set out a strategic plan of how you're going to see a real come around in those areas. Significant CRETA funding has helped launch and sustain the Atlantic City Police Department's Neighborhood Coordination Officers Program, which brings a more complete community policing approach for each of the city's 6 wards and to the tourism district as well. DCA is helping to lead an effort to expand broadband access for Atlantic City residents and businesses. We all know we're concerned about the digital divide. And if we think about the future, the digital divide, that gap has to be closed, because years ago we said it was the information highway. If we do not make certain that every resident and business in Atlantic City has the ability to go on the World Wide Web, it's going to hold us back socially, educationally, and economically. Earlier this year, Atlantic City, through the efforts of the Atlantic City Project Office, received grant funding to do a broadband access study for the city of Atlantic City. And Atlantic City is also benefiting from an expert DCA team. DCA's Division of Local Government Services has in-house skilled technical advisors who are available to the city of Atlantic City whenever necessary. The advisors have spent decades working in their respective areas of expertise, such as police, fire, revenue and finance, public works, and management. They use their knowledge and their industry standards and their best practices to ensure that all the city departments are run like a well-oiled machine. DCA is also leading efforts in building an effective municipal government. One of the earliest things that we did, and Governor Murphy made reference to Jim Johnson, was to form a partnership with Rutgers University. Every single department director, division director, and management level person has gone through certified public manager training. And we started that back in 2019, and it continues. Nearly all city employees have completed mandatory training in local government ethics law, the criminal code related to government ethics, financial disclosure statements, and real-life examples. DCA is very proud to continue its partnership with Governor Murphy in ensuring that Atlantic City gets where it needs to be as we move forward in this millennial Generation X. I don't know if they're YZ. I don't know what they are. But at any rate, Atlantic City, you know, your best days are ahead of you. This budget is a testimony to Governor Murphy's commitment and ongoing support to this city, and we're not going anywhere. Thank you.
Sheila, thank you. I just said to Terry that I'm not sure what you call the generation, but I do know this: we're not in it. I want to give Eddie Donnelly, president of FMBA, one of the great union leaders, great firefighter, first responder in his own right. I didn't recognize you there, Eddie. God bless you, buddy. I hope, by the way, Sheila, you referred to these 2 shiny, beautiful machines. I hope John Deere is funding some of this transitional aid, by the way, given the airtime they're getting. Just wanted to get that off my chest. You mentioned Superstorm Sandy. This is not germane to why we're here today on a more serious note, but I had my second conversation with a Coast Guard admiral this morning. New Jersey is covered by 2 different regions of the Coast Guard. And from about Shark River on down, it's Philadelphia. And clearly Atlantic City is an incredibly important part of that, as Marty and everybody else here knows, Don and others, that they've got both boat assets and air assets stationed here in Atlantic City, and we're all bracing for whatever all the experts claim will be a tough hurricane season. But I'm going to find some wood here and say so far, so good. It's late starting, but everybody stay alert and stay strong. So it takes a village. You don't get to a day like today with the tens of millions of dollars that we're talking about just because somebody woke up with a good idea or a good impulse. And it certainly takes great legislative leadership. And please help me welcome in that spirit a great leader, the Speaker of the General Assembly. Without him, we wouldn't be here today, Craig Coughlin.
Exactly right. Wearing a tie but no socks. The socks go back on at the end of this week, Governor. It's part of a middle-age crisis thing. I have a lot of Gen Zers at my house, I guess. Anyway, well, thank you, Governor, and thank you, everybody, for being here. Mayor Small, thank you. Members of the Public Works, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm going to take the message back that you have such a great facility to my mayor, Jerry McCormick, whom I'm sure you know, and I suspect there'll be something in the budget for an expanded Public Works facility in next year's budget, and I hope I can count on Assemblywoman Swift and Assemblyman Guardian to support that as well. But it's another beautiful day in Atlantic City and another great time to be here as we proudly celebrate this, the great budget that we passed this last time. You know, we got a message. Part of politics and part of governments, the most important probably, is to listen. And what we heard from the people of New Jersey last November was that we weren't paying enough attention to kitchen table issues. We weren't paying enough attention to the things that mattered in their day-to-day life. And so we got to work. We got to work with the great partnership of the governor, who's been an extraordinary leader in that regard, and to my friend and colleague, Senator Scutari, the Senate President, in putting together a package that addressed just those issues. And I've had the good fortune this summer going around the state, looking at the product of some of those things. I've been in places that I had never been to before, and it's a beautiful state, by the way. I think I'm going to get to all 550 or 50, 65 or whatever towns we have over the next the months, so I can see all of the things that go on. But it is remarkable, and we've done things that are designed to help the people of New Jersey in a direct positive way. $2 billion set aside for real property tax reduction. $18 billion in addition for school funding. That's the biggest we've had in the history of the state, and that's direct property tax relief. We've also added, tax credits for children, $75 million in return of energy credits for the people. And by the way, everybody, get out and shop, because the tax holiday began on Saturday. There's no taxes on back-to-school items, and if you happen to be a small business person, we're not going to ask you at the cash register whether you're sending somebody off to school and you want to buy some technological equipment for your business. Is a good time to go and do that as well. And I'm here to celebrate the $43 million, and as the governor pointed out, the additional $16.6 in transitional aid that's going to make an impact right here in Atlantic City. That's the kind of thing that we've done throughout the state. The kind of things that make a difference in people's lives. Repairing the boardwalk is part of that project. The camera program that the mayor has championed for so long, which will make Atlantic City better and safer. The things that the fire trucks that are just things that the town will have to pay for themselves. And so we're sharing the cost with that to make Atlantic City grow and get better. And that's the product, as the governor points out, of a village. It's also the product of people who care. For a long time, my southern colleagues, led by Lou Greenwald, have done well. And we're fortunate this year to have the support of Assemblywoman Swift and Assemblyman Guardian, who crossed the line and voted for a budget because it made sense for Atlantic City, because it was the right thing to do for the people of New Jersey. And, of course, a member of the House of Lords, Senator Palestino, who used to be in the Assembly. I had the privilege of serving with him when he was there before. So thank you for that, and thank you for your commitment to making New Jersey a better, more affordable place. Because that's what it's really about, right? It's about making sure the towns continue to grow and develop and prosper, and to make sure that we can do it in a way that makes it more affordable for the people who are challenged. Inflation has had a real impact on people, right? Fortunately, we're seeing gas prices go down, but in every other aspect, we're seeing prices go up. So to the extent we can share that burden by spending tax money in a way that lets the things that Atlantic City needs come to fruition, without them having to directly pay or singularly pay for it, that's really an important step. And one of the reasons I'm here to celebrate this budget, because it really accomplishes what we set out to do and heard the message of the people of the state of New Jersey. We're going to continue to do those kind of things. We've set on a path that's designed to continue that, not just now, but in the years to come. And with the great commitment of the governor and the lieutenant governor and the Senate, we're going to get those things done. So today's, it's often a line that people scowl at or laugh at when you say we're here from the government to help. Well, we're here from the government to help. And we're helping in a real way that makes a difference in the pocketbooks of the people of Atlantic City. And so I'm proud to be here and happy to be with you to share in some of this great success. Keep up the good work. I love coming to Atlantic City. In fact, Mayor, don't tell everybody. I'm going to play a little hooky. I'm going to go in. My wife's pocketbook got ruined while we were on vacation. I'm going to go surprise her and get into one of those discounts or the downtown, the downtown to get to down. It's a Kate Spade. So, and if I remember it, I'm going to be a hero. But that's the kind of stuff you can do in Atlantic City, right? You can celebrate, you can have fun, you can shop, you can live, and we're here to help make that a better reality for everybody. Thank you all for coming out. Appreciate it. It's a great pleasure to be with you.
Your wife Tish just texted me. She's watching at home and appreciates the gesture. Amen to everything you said, Craig, including especially affordability and taking, listen, if we can find ways to take the burden off of a community, in this case Atlantic City, and put it on our shoulders, or to be smart in working with our county colleagues, we'll hear from Ernie in a couple of minutes, or, as we've mentioned already today, being really sharp on getting federal money, that combination is lethal at the end of the day, and it goes directly toward pocketbook relief for our residents. I mentioned it takes a village, not only the General Assembly, it sure as heck takes the Senate, and we're privileged to have a terrific senator with us today. Please help me welcome from the Legislative District number 2, Senator Vince Palestina.
Well, thank you, Governor. Very proud to be here, of course. It's been a wild ride for about the last year, a little bit of a bumpy start for the first couple months, but once I won the election in November, it's been such an opportunity for me to work with the governor and work with the lieutenant governor. And right after that election, I went to Trenton. And let me mention a couple of your staff, Governor, as well, and Lieutenant Governor, because Chief of Staff George Helmy, former Legislative Director Justin Braz, current Legislative Director Tim Hillman, Assistant Sam Bender, who is here, were all so wonderful in sitting down and talking with us about the issues critical to Atlantic County and critical to Atlantic City. Also, of course, had an opportunity to sit with the governor and the lieutenant governor and talk about these issues. And I can't tell you how awesome it was for us, even though we were a different party, even though we were from different areas, maybe from different backgrounds, to have the opportunity to sit and talk about things with them, talk through issues with them. They were so welcoming and so understanding, and I can't thank you enough for everything that you guys have done to assist us here in Atlantic County. Lead up to, of course, this budget vote, and you can imagine the conversations in our caucus were a little different than Speaker Coughlin and Senate President Scutari were having in their caucus. And I'm just kind of a common sense person. I'm thinking to myself, biggest property tax relief program in history, fully fund the pension system, the sales tax holiday, which was mentioned, the most school aid ever in the history of New Jersey, the biggest surplus in the history of New Jersey, in addition to everything we have done for Atlantic City and for Atlantic County. And they didn't mention some of the things that are being done for Atlantic County, but Stockton University got the most money in history. The Aviation Research Park got additional funding. And I was just thinking to myself, as I'm talking to my colleagues, who of course wanted all Republicans to vote against it, like, I'm not a simple guy from Atlantic County. This doesn't seem too bright to me. It seems like one of the best budgets we've ever had in the history of the state of New Jersey. And so, you heard Don Gardy and Claire Swift and I, the only Republicans in the state of New Jersey to vote for the budget. Guess what? We did it because it was the right thing to do. We are Atlantic County. We have always been Atlantic County. We have never worried about party affiliation or background. We are going to do what is right for Atlantic County, and we give you our commitment. We are going to continue to do that as long as we serve in the legislature. So let me just say in closing, I mentioned some of the team. You heard Jacqueline Suarez's name a lot. You heard some of the team members that are here. Dr. Kesselman I spoke to, I was hoping he could be here because Stockton is so important and so critical to the future of this city. Lori Herndon is here as the CEO of Atlantic. Again, another institution so critical to the city of Atlantic City and our region. And so we have such partners in place now with the Governor Murphy, with Lieutenant Governor Oliver, with the Mayor, City Council, with Jacqueline Suarez, with our leaders in the business community, the educational community, the Sheriff Eric Scheffler here, the new Atlantic County Prosecutor was recently appointed, Sean Patwell now leading the CRDA. We have every piece in place. We work together across party lines, regardless of anything. Nothing is going to hold this city and this region back. And so I'm proud to be a part of it, and I thank you for everything you have done.
Vince, thank you for the good words. And again, to you and Don and Claire, you showed a lot of political courage. So hats off to you. Thanks for the leadership. You mentioned Lori. I want to give Lori a shout out. We also have, and her colleagues, Harvey's not here. We would have had to push dinner back to include Harvey's remarks. So and I'm just kidding. But Stockton, just making sure you're paying attention out there. Stockton is on fire. The aviation investment that both you are passionate about and we are passionate about has a chance to be transformative in this region. If we can solve the sort of the Bader Field riddle at some point, there's a lot of untapped opportunity here. And so count us, I know I speak on behalf of Sheila and myself and Craig and other leaders here, is all in. So in final part of it takes a village. You need a county. You need the county participation. You need their partnership. And he's a dear friend and an outstanding commissioner. Please help me welcome Ernie Corsi.
Let me just say, in the essence of time, I don't need a suntan, so we're not going to be here much longer. Certainly to the governor, to the lieutenant governor, to certainly all of you who have come today. What a great start for Atlantic City in Atlantic County. You talked about the Aviation Tech Center. You talked about Stockton. I am one of those commissioners that will brag, coming from the commissioner side, former freeholders at that time, when we put up the bonds and put the first Stockton up. It is amazing that Stockton University is back on its property where it originally started, right there on Albany Avenue. It's nothing like going back home, a full circle. If I can, I just want to say, and I'll take the privilege of doing it, Governor, because the person I taught in politics that got the mic is in charge. So since I'm the last one, I thought it would not be robbery that I just take this opportunity. I know the mayor was trying to get the program moving, but I think it's important that all the mayor's directors just stand up. Just stand up. All the mayor's directors, the department heads, division heads. You're talking about a village. Mayor Marty Small, thank you so much. Marty never saw it robbery to reach back, and you can sit down, to reach back and give other folks in City Hall the opportunity to move up. And he's done that through a lot. Lieutenant Governor, I always say this. Crystal Lewis and I started almost City Hall around the same time. And Crystal started at 14 years old, I believe it was. And now Crystal is the deputy director of the Department of Public Works. It goes to tell you, it doesn't where you start, it's where you finish. And we say, Crystal, keep up a good work because you're a role model for other women, for other young people along the way. Because it was people like Crystal, Mayor Marty Small, and I'm going to talk about the county in 1 second, reach back. And if you go through City Hall, the amount of young people that has been hired under the Small administration, I've been there 30 long years plus. And I've got to tell you, it's probably the best administration I've worked for in a mighty long time because he believes in growth. He believes in bringing people from the bottom up, moving people within, and did an outstanding job. And we can't commend Mayor Marty Small enough. Let me just say that on the county side of it, again, it's a partnership. We've got to forget about the D's and the R's and the I's, and at the end of the day, the taxpayers don't give a rat's tail what side of the aisle you on. How do you reduce my taxes? How do you keep the streets clean? How do you get more cops on the street? That's what the residents want to hear. They don't want to hear about the fighting between D's and R's and I's, and at the end of the day, we've got to say we've come together. We put our partisan at the door, and how do we move Atlantic City and Atlantic County forward? And that's going to take all of us, whether it's Vince, it's Ernest, it's Jeff, it's Don, it's Marty, it's whoever. We've got to put all that aside and say what's in the best interest for Atlantic City and Atlantic County. Because if we're all rowing in the same direction, there's no stopping us now. And so when you look at the speaker, he takes his time to come down to Atlantic City, the governor and the lieutenant governor on his hot deck. That says a lot. It speaks volumes. It says that we can work together. We can agree to disagree. It doesn't have to be disagreeable. And at the end of the day, the taxpayer is going to be able to say that's exactly what we want our elected officials to do. County level, state level, city level, we've got a job to do, and we're responsible to the taxpayers of Atlantic County. And so as we continue to move Atlantic City and we continue to move Atlantic County, sometimes I like to be on the odd side of the aisle because sometimes I can do more negotiation and more horse trading if I'm the only Dem over there because I got to force the Republicans to help me out. But we've had a good relationship going forward to move things in Atlantic City. And Governor Murphy, I can't thank you enough, you and Sheila Oliver, for all you've done for Atlantic City and Atlantic County. Word on the street is that Jackie is going to be moving to Atlantic City because she's here so much and that we don't have to do teams and phone calls. We could just, matter of fact, we might give her the old project office and keep her right there in City Hall. But we can't thank you enough. But in closing, let me just say, as Mayor Small often say, the little people, they pour our coffees, they park our cars, they make our beds, they sweep our streets, they dump our trash, trying to make ends meet every single day. And we take our hats off to Public Works as well for the outstanding job you do. We know the manpower is down, the equipment is down, but help is on the way. And then they say, no weapon. As I take my seat, they say, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. So except the Lord build a house, they labor in vain. And so today we've come today to say help is still on the way. Keep the money coming from the state of New Jersey. Keep Atlantic City flowing. And if you're leaving here, Speaker Kaufman, to go over there, remember to bat with your head and not over your head. And make sure you go to Gucci and take that pocketbook back to your wife. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
You had some great lines in there, Ernie, including quoting those famous American philosophers, McFadden and Whitehead. Ain't no stopping us now. Crystal, you got to give us at some point privately, give us some Ernie stories from way back then when he was a youngster. Thank you, Ernie, and thanks for all you do, and including for your great friendship. So as they say in Hollywood, it's a wrap. On behalf of the mayor, the DPW outstanding team, lieutenant governor, speaker, senator, assemblymen and women, other elected officials, department heads, private sector representatives, law enforcement, fire, first responders, Atlantic City. Sheila and I talk about this all the time. There's a short list of communities, and Atlantic City's on it. As it goes, so goes the state of New Jersey. Those aren't just words today. Hopefully is another proof point that we're back on those words up with serious partnership and help financially and otherwise. Thank you all.